Ah, there he is.
What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? How are you?
Dude, I'm good. I was sitting here writing about the stock report, and it's kind of crazy that like Louisville of all teams, I mean, six straight ACC losses. Like, dude, they're on the chopping block right now. Like,
Bang.
it is not looking good for the Cardinals.
Yeah. I actually sent a text message to somebody on that KR that so to me there's like five ACC bubble teams.
Hmm.
North Carolina, Duke, Virginia, Pitt, Louisville. And it's hard, Charlotte, I see you go. It's hard to have Louisville be higher than fourth. I mean,
Yeah,
and if they're gonna, unless they're gonna completely ignore RPI, but how do you ignore RPI in the conference when they're kind of peers? I don't know. It's gonna be, yeah, Louisville's not in a good place.
yeah, it's very, very strange. I was talking to the coach tonight about Louisville, and they said they still think Louisville is very dangerous offensively, but just pitching wise, they've left a lot to be desired this year. So. I'll tell you what, man. This postseason is going to be absolutely.
Oh, you locked up on me, Kendall. Oh, I wonder if that's me or you. Let's see, Kendall. Oh, there you go. You're back.
No, my phone keeps going. I don't know what the deal is. You look across the country and you look at the ACC and what's going on in that league. You look at Duke. I mean, they've won six straight ACC games. All of a sudden, they're back in the discussion. Chris Pollard working his magic. You look at the Big 12 today. TCU one strike away from winning the Big 12, and Kansas State gets the big home run from Chris Savalos, and all of a sudden Texas is the number one seed, and they have a co-championship. And look out west. I mean, we talk about Duke in the ACC. I mean, how about Cal? I mean, Cal's now tied with UCLA. If Oregon State loses tonight, Cal would be tied with Oregon State and UCLA in the Pac-12 standings. I mean, their RPI is like the 80s. So they're working. They're not working from a position of strength. But, I mean, let's say they win their final series and they're ahead of Oregon State and UCLA in the standings. I mean, at that point, do you start to throw out the RPI a little bit and just go straight off the conference standings? I mean, it's hard not to.
Yeah. It's crazy. So Cal's an interesting example. Our great friend Roxy Bernstein, obviously, is the Cal homer and
Oh, yeah, I
always
forgot
roots for
about
the
that.
Bears.
Roxy's got to be on cloud nine right now.
Yeah. So the key that he mentioned was, which is probably similar to what you're saying, is
Mm-hmm.
17 wins. Can they get to 17 wins? But a couple weeks ago, one of the things behind Cal's bad RPI was, Cal went 1-3 against Pacific at home. So
Yeah.
Pacific is 3-1 versus Cal. And at the time, Pacific was also 3-13 versus the WCC. So that's not good, right? Like now it's just one weekend, but it's man. Hey, what do you think, Kendall? Like, I don't want to ruin the Nerdcast, but like Texas Tech goes now to 14-10 in the league, is that right?
Yeah, let me see here.
They were 12-9 and they won the series.
Yeah, Texas Tech is 14-10.
So is that national? Is that top 8 seed or is that dicey?
So the way I look at Texas Tech right now, I mean, I would have them slightly ahead of TCU. I mean, I get it. Like, they're going to finish 3 games behind TCU in the standings. But I think Texas Tech's trending in a better direction. I think when you look at TCU right now, you look at the fact the Frogs have lost 3 straight series, one of those being the UL Monroe. You look at Texas Tech, they've played really well down the stretch. The RPI is up to 8. TCU's at 7. And, oh, by the way, Texas Tech won the head-to-head. So I think ultimately it kind of boils down to what happens in the Big 12 tournament, which, you'll be doing on TV. Aaron will be there. That is a fascinating tournament because you've got Baylor and Oklahoma, I feel like right now, are playing for one spot. All of a sudden, Oklahoma, we talk about craziness in each league. How about Oklahoma? I mean, they were kind of left for dead, and now the Sooners are 11-13 tie with Baylor. And, the RPI is closing in on the Bears. So it all boils down to what those two teams do in the conference tournament. And I think for Texas Tech and TCU, I really do think whichever team does better in the conference tournament will get a top 8 seed. Because right now, the problem you run into is, is you look for teams that could get in the top 8. Because like right now, I don't feel like I think there's like one spot available. So I think I think either Arizona or Oregon getting one of those 8 spots, probably Arizona. And then you look at Mississippi State this weekend sweeping Alabama on the road. State's probably locked in at this point with 20 SEC wins. So you're looking at that TCU spot as really the only question mark. And if you look outside of Texas Tech, Ole Miss, you could argue if they made a ferocious run through Hoover, could they maybe get in that discussion? Probably not, but maybe. Florida was one of those teams that we kind of talked about. If they won that Arkansas series, they could get in that discussion, but they got swept. So like they're totally out of the discussion. So at this point, I mean, unless I'm just totally whiffing and forgetting on someone, like I don't think there's anybody but Texas Tech who can get that spot from TCU at this point.
Kendall, do you think, so we're going to, for our normal podcast this week, I still feel very convicted on this idea that you, me, and Fitzy are going to draft conference tournaments just based on, because, like conference tournament week, you can only, your attention can go in so many directions. So that's what the three of us are going to, we're going to draft conference tournaments. But do you think, I'm looking forward to it. Now, it's going to require some studying, so I'm going to have to get on that. But do you think the ACC has the widest range of outcomes for number of bids right now?
Yes.
Because it could be, like if I'm not mistaken, there are 5 ACC teams, only 5, that have an over 500 record in the league.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at Clemson. You're looking at Clemson at 16-20. You're looking at Vatech at 16-20. You're looking at Pittsburgh. How about Pittsburgh, guys? I mean, Pittsburgh was one of the 20 teams the committee picked to host. They've since lost 6 straight ACC games. They're down to 51 in the RPI. They're 16-17. They didn't even make the field. Like I mean, if they would make it right now, it would be like just barely making it in. So yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the ACC to me is probably the most fascinating tournament just because you have all those bubble teams. You have all those teams have been bipolar all year long, so you have no idea what to expect.
Do you think, Kendall, in the committee, again, I'm spoiling the Nerdcast, I don't mean to do that, but the thing that I'm thinking about is, so LSU is 13-17. Hey, by the way, all of this stuff is why next week is going to be so fun. Like, conference tournaments matter. This is going to be really fun. The ACC is like, the ACC, what's the analogy? It's like the Titanic sinking and just a bunch of people grabbing at life rafts. That's what the ACC tournament is. They should call it the Life Raft Open because people fighting for their lives.
Yeah, it's like Virginia Tech. I mean, remember when Virginia Tech was like a top 15 team? I mean, they've lost, 6, 7, 8,
2-13. 2-13 is what they finished.
Brutal. I mean, that's actually kind of shocking because I think John Shep's a really good coach.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know they had some injuries, but it felt like they were getting healthier. So do you think – so, okay, here's the question I wanted to ask you, and I know you guys will cover it on the Nerdcast. So 13-17 LSU, are they for sure ahead of like a 16-20 ACC team, or are they
would be for me.
Yeah.
They would be for me. The thing I look at with LSU is if you look at LSU's schedule, I mean – they finished with their strength of schedule is like 3rd in the country right now. They play, and the thing about the SEC is unlike some of these conferences like the Big Ten and like the ACC, who didn't, I think Notre Dame played 4 or 5 non-conference games. The SEC played a full schedule, so like you can legitimately look at the RPI, look at SOS and things like that, and draw conclusions from the SEC, and and there's not holes in that formula. Well, the LSU, their strength of schedule is 3, and they played a really, really difficult schedule. They got South Carolina and Vanderbilt as 2 of their 3 crossover teams. Those 2 of those teams are, top 25 clubs. And then, you look at the job they did down the stretch, getting the series win against Auburn. What they did is they took care of business in the series they needed to. And they also won 1 game from Arkansas. I think that really helped them too. And so, and if you look at, even if you look at some of their other losses in conference, I mean, people forget. I mean, LSU was up 9-2 on Ole Miss in the 8th inning, to go for the sweep in Oxford. So, I think LSU is one of those teams that's going to meet the eyeball test. And I watched their game against A&M today. Gavin Dugas. I mean, I love that guy. Like he's all banged up right now, but he hit a bomb for them today. He's playing really well. Trey Morgan and Dylan Cruz continue to play well. And, LSU pitched pretty well for the most part today as well. They had some guys step up this weekend on the mound. So they could actually be a little dangerous. Like, I mean, we all know they have talent, right? And so
just very young.
Dangerous.
Yep.
Hey, am I coming in a little blurry? I'm hearing rumors from my boss, my wife, my AK boss, that I might be a little blurry.
You're a little blurry, yeah.
Weird. Let me reload it real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
Do you want me to invite you? Oh, yeah, I'll invite you back in. The reload. All right, Kendall, I'm going to invite you back in. Clemson. Yeah, Clemson not in a good place. There you are.
Are we better?
Yeah, that's better. Cleaner for sure. What'd
All
you
right,
do?
cool.
Just
I don't know
better
what to do over
connection?
there.
Yeah. Hey, do you think, Kendall, somebody asked this, Coach Fanning. Coach Fanning, your picture with President Bush, by the way. Do you see what your wife? It's an unpaid position. Hey,
Hey,
Angela, Team Vanilla, we're servant leaders on Team Vanilla. That's just the way it works. So the question, KR, is will there be anybody that goes somewhere? Will there be any hosts that are 2 seeds? Do you foresee that? Or will all the hosts be 1 seeds?
well, the question I have right now, Runes, is like, who is the 16th seed? I mean,
Mm,
so for right now, if you look at like Louisiana Tech, for instance, Louisiana Tech came into the weekend at 16. In our projections, Louisiana Tech lost 2 games to ODU this weekend. The RPI is going down; they're in the 30s. So like right now, I don't
mm-hmm.
think they're a regional host. And so if Southern Miss is in the 30s and Louisiana Tech is in the 30s, I mean, I guess your only other team in Conference USA right now would be Charlotte, who
Mm-hmm.
had to get a rally here in the ninth, to give them a lot of credit, right? I mean, they won 15-14 over UNCW to win that series, and so maybe Charlotte is that team that is a host, is that 16 seed. I just kind of wonder. I mean, so right now, if you look at potential hosts, you've got South Carolina, Charlotte, Pittsburgh, Louisiana Tech, Southern Miss. Okay, so we can go ahead and mark Pittsburgh off the list. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't know about you, but like unless the committee is going to kind of ignore the RPI with Conference USA, I mean, South Carolina. I mean, if they play remotely well in Hoover, South Carolina maybe is at 16.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Kendall, LSU, okay, if their LSU loses on Tuesday and they're 13 and 18, is that a deal breaker or not necessarily?
I don't think it's a deal breaker because the problem you run into now is the bubble is very weak.
Yeah.
For instance, as of tonight, Air Force, for instance, was like a bubble team. Well, Air Force lost the series opener to San Diego State 17-3. They were about to lose the second game to San Diego State. That's one of those. Air Force is one of those teams like you can't afford this late in the year to lose that kind of series, especially get pummeled on the series opener like that. So like a team like that's probably going to drop back in the pecking order now. And so I just don't think that, as of right now, the bubble is just not very deep. And
Yeah.
that really helps teams like LSU. Now, if you get into conference tournaments, and like the A-Sun, for instance, Liberty right now is a bubble team. Like if Liberty didn't win the conference tournament, they'd probably get in. If you're an LSU fan, you're a Georgia fan, Kentucky, Clemson, no matter what, all those bubble teams, you're looking at like the Mountain West with Nevada, because Nevada's probably getting in right now no matter
Mm-hmm.
what. You're looking at the Mountain West. You're rooting for Nevada. You're rooting for Liberty and the Atlantic Sun.
Fairfield?
Yeah, absolutely. Fairfield's getting in no matter what. So you're watching that Metro Atlantic tournament. Unfortunately, my Peacocks don't have a shot to win it. But,
I guess we're done strutting our stuff for 2021.
yeah, I
We'll
was
have to
hoping the
wait till
Peacocks might have an
2022.
opportunity.
Hey, what about Connecticut? What about UConn?
Yeah, I mean,
25 down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one, Runes. I mean, Connecticut's up to 23 in the RPI. I mean, if they don't win the Big East tournament, they're probably getting in. Because the thing about Connecticut, and here's the deal about Connecticut, is if you look at its schedule, granted, I get it. They didn't win very many of these games. Actually, I think they won like one of them. Or, no, they won 2 of them. So they lost 2 out of 3 to Southern Miss. They lost 2 out of 3 to Virginia, and they got swept by Texas Tech. But you know what? In a COVID year like that, where your practice was really limited early on, like kudos to Jim Penders for actually going out and playing those games. Like
No
I think
kidding.
they're going to get credit for doing that, and I think they're getting it no matter what at this point.
Yeah. Hey, Kendall, I'm just curious. I've never asked you this question. What is your routine on regional weekend? Do you like to be at a regional, or do you like to be home so you can kind of create a war room for regional
I
weekend?
usually go somewhere, so like I'm probably going to Austin, but each year, like I keep telling myself, like I just want to stay home and watch every game
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like I feel like when I'm watching games from like the press box in another ballpark during another regional, like heads on a swivel, right?
Yeah,
Especially
yeah,
back in the old bases loaded days where we're going to like a screen every 2 seconds. Like, man, I mean, as an ADD guy like me, I mean that's brutal.
What about in supers? Do you like to be somewhere for a super?
Yeah, I do. I actually really do like watching teams, punch a ticket to Omaha. I mean, we
Yeah.
all kind of remember those moments, right? I mean, I think you look back at, a couple of years ago in Mississippi State when Elijah McNamee hit that big time majestic blast
Oh my
against
gosh, so crazy.
Stanford. I was at Mike Martin's. No offense, LSU fans, but I was at Mike Martin's. When they hit that walk off against LSU in Baton Rouge. I mean, that was a
Hmm.
special moment. So I just love watching teams punch a ticket to Omaha.
Yeah, I'm with you. What about trying to think of other results from today that kind of spooked me a little bit. I'll tell you, yeah, I'll tell you what's getting interesting. The Big Ten is getting interesting. Could if Iowa, no, Iowa lost today, but could the Big Ten sneak up and be a 5-bid league if Iowa finishes strong?
It
Although
could. I mean,
Indiana's
I
got to
wouldn't
get
bank
it
on it.
together.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't bank on it, but they certainly could. I mean, I think the team for me is trending up is Maryland. I think when you look at Maryland
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
granted they didn't play very well today against Michigan, but they won that series opener. You look at Nebraska. I feel very good about Nebraska. Will Bolt has those guys playing really well.
Hmm.
And I think Michigan is in. Indiana is the weird one for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're just
I can't. I don't get Indiana.
obviously I had them today, and Indiana can really pitch. And even when they go to their bullpen and it's guys you've never heard of, man, like they had this kid. Oh, I'm going to space the name. I got my scorebook here. It's like a weird pronunciation. Modugno. I didn't know who he was. Like a middle reliever. Dude was 91 with an 85-mile-an-hour slider. Like 3 up, 3
There
down.
you
Thanks for
go.
coming out. Yeah, I mean
That'll
they can
work.
really pitch, but Indiana only has 3 hitters left from the 2019 team, and so
Yeah.
they can get a little young in like Chance. You remember Chance Roach from New Mexico State? That
Yeah. Yeah.
he
Actually, I do.
he diced up Indiana today. I mean, diced them up. It was complete game, first complete game of his career. Anyway, it was awesome. Yeah. What and so okay. Let me ask you this question: if I'm a 12-win SEC team, which there's a couple of those, right? Is that Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky? Are they all 12 wins?
Yeah. So if you look at the SEC bubble teams, I think I would have Alabama as the team at the back end of that because Alabama has series losses to LSU and Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
So Alabama has a lot of work to do. And frankly, I was talking to Mark Etheridge about this earlier. He was just like, frankly, like Alabama is not a postseason team. Like they're a
Yeah.
mass unit. They've had injuries all year long. Like that just isn't a postseason team. But, we'll see if they can go on a run. Kentucky, has series losses to LSU and Georgia. So they're working from a position of weakness against those two teams. So that's going to be really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I forgot that Georgia has 13 wins. So Georgia is kind of the only thing that's tricky about Hoover to me is like you could win Tuesday, but then if you lose your next 2 games, you're net 1-2. Did you help yourself or did you not help yourself? I think you probably helped yourself because you're just kind of in the conversation longer,
Yeah.
but you really did go 1-2.
Yeah, no doubt. It's just it's gonna be fascinating. By the way, I want to give a shout out to LaSalle. How about those
Oh
guys? They had
yeah.
their season coming into today. David Miller, their head coach, sent me a really nice message. Those guys have been through a lot. I mean, you talk about a program like everybody else, like all of us, right? That we had to go through a pandemic. We had a season canceled, and on top of that, those guys get their program canceled. And I mean, obviously, they still got a shot to get saved. I don't think it looks great. I think the administration
Hmm.
there is ridiculous. From what I'm hearing, they're saying they need 10, $15 million to keep the program afloat, which is absolute trash. I mean, come on, guys. I know it doesn't take that much to keep a college baseball program going, but David Miller for me, he won't win Coach of the Year, but boy, he should be in the discussion because what he did and what that program did this year is pretty special. I mean, they got really close to making to kind of reaching a milestone up there.
Yeah, I'm with you. You know what's sad, Kendall, is LaSalle. Obviously, I grew up in suburban Philly, and LaSalle has no baseball tradition, and
Yeah.
they cut the program because they what LaSalle did is they increased their athletic department in a very substantial way to increase enrollment because they're struggling for enrollment,
Hmm.
and then they just all the teams were losing because they couldn't invest in them, And so they just started downsizing, not realizing that, hey, David Miller was building a really strong winning program. Hey, who knows what they could have pulled off if they hadn't announced cutting the program because they had some kids leave. So I agree. I'm really bummed that they didn't make the ATN tournament, but they did set a school record, and that's awesome. That 32 wins, and so you're right. That's well said. David Miller did an unbelievable job.
Yeah, and we also had a postseason streak in today. Texas A&M. With that loss to LSU yesterday, was eliminated from the SEC tournament. That's a 13-year postseason streak for the Aggies that was ended, and more than likely it will probably be the end of the Rob Childress era at A&M. But I'll tell you what, I was telling somebody this earlier, and I know you'll agree with me, but this day and age in college baseball, getting to 13 straight postseason and getting to 6 super regionals, like that is hard to do, man. Like that is really, really hard to do. Just ask some of these teams like Clemson how hard it is to get to 13 straight regionals.
Yeah. Well, think about it, Kendall. Like for Rob Childress, so the active streaks right now his ended today, but it was Florida State 42, which is like, that's like Joe DiMaggio, right? Like it's just like, hey, that's just as if we needed more data points that tell us that 11 is like one of the best coaches in the history of mankind. But so Florida State's 42, Vandy's 14, and A&M's 13. So think about the schools I have not listed yet. Florida, Arkansas. I mean, like some of the creme de la creme. So you're right. It's, hey, making a regional is guaranteed to no one in today's college baseball. It really isn't. Not like it used to be. Anyway.
That's gonna be a fun search to follow if that comes down the way I think it will.
Did you tell Martha that she needs to gird up her loins because this is Martha
might want to get her popcorn ready for that
one. Martha better have some extra battery packs ready because she's about to be.
She's gonna be getting that extra large popcorn bag from Cinemark.
Oh my gosh! What is that? What's the cell phone thing? The Mochi. It's like a double battery on the back of a cell phone. Mophie.
Oh yeah. Oh, those are. By the way, if they want to advertise with us someday, hey, I still love you. But you know what? I had one of those one time, and like it crapped out on me after like
garbage.
2 weeks.
It's a myth. Yeah, gotta love it. Well,
how about that? I got an old Longhorn buddy of mine, Galen Kreisig, tuning in here. He's ragging on the Aggies over here. Come on, man. How about this? Okay, so. Since we're talking about the Lone Star State, kudos to the Longhorns over there. Got what's that? 2 Big 12 championships in the last 3 years. The Horns got a little help from Kansas State today, but how about the job that David Pierce has done over there?
So, Kendall, if I have this right, Texas in the last 3 years won the Big 12.
Yeah,
dead last in the Big 12, won the Big 12. Is that right? They did not make the Big 12 tournament in 2019.
Yeah, I mean, 2019 feels like it was 10 years ago, but yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, because Cody Clemens was 18.
Yeah.
2019, they don't even make the Big 12 tournament. And then, because remember, 2019 was the year they swept LSU at home and then just went, shoo. Absolute swan dive.
That's whenever they swept LSU, and I was like, oh, man, these guys are going to be really good. And then that was whenever, not only that, okay, now I remember now. That was whenever they actually played Oklahoma. They were trying to get in the Big 12 tournament. They played Oklahoma the final weekend of the season. Like, you just like obliterated them. Like they're just hitting bombs all over the place. And so, yeah, I mean, it actually I get it. Like there's a gap because you have the COVID year, but like that's impressive to have that big of a turnaround. And I'll be honest with you, I actually really, really am starting to like this Texas team. Mm-hmm. I think when you look at the Horns earlier this year, I was the first to say it. Like I liked them, but I was kind of thinking like, hey, we might have them a little overrated. But I really think when you look at UT right now, you look at, Pete Hansen continuing to pitch really well in that number 3 spot in the weekend rotation. You look at the pieces on the back end with Aaron Nixon and Tanner Witt, those 2 just hard-nosed freshmen. And then you look at the offense, like Trey Faltini hit a couple of bombs over the weekend. Zach Zuby has had a nice role for him. Cam Williams gets some big hits for him. And Mike Antico, Mitchell Daly. Like, all of a sudden, Texas is one of those teams that has balance offensively. And, by the way, they might have, one of the top 3 or 4 weekend rotations in college baseball right now.
Yeah. Kendall, if you had to bet on a postseason team, I'm going to give you 2 Big Ten teams you can choose from. You could make a wager on Michigan or Nebraska. What's your wager to go deep in the postseason? It's a tricky one for me. I'm struggling with it.
Tricky.
I lean Michigan just because they've kind of been there, done that. But I don't know that I actually might like Nebraska's team a little bit better. But I just like Michigan's got the it factor to me.
Yeah, I think Nebraska for me with Povich and Schwellenbach and guys like that, I feel like Nebraska actually probably has a little bit more star power.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Michigan I think Michigan is more like, hey, we know what to expect when we get there. I don't know. That's a great question. That's tough.
Hey, okay, here's another follow-up question. Who's Notre Dame getting as their 2 and their 3 seed? And are they getting Wright State as their 4 seed?
Ooh,
that would be unpleasant.
I don't think Wright's going to be a 4.
They'll be a 3?
Yeah, I mean, right now, so Wright at this point is sitting at 27. I don't know about you, but if I'm Lee Jarrett, like I'm majorly pissed off if I get the 27 RPI team as my 4 as a top 8 seed. Like I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's a great question. I think they're going to get a good 2 seed.
But it'll be like a Big Ten team, right? It'll be would they get no? So Arkansas is getting Nebraska, right? Like does that seems to make the most sense?
Yeah, I mean that's what we keep doing, and Nebraska fans hate it, and I know like Dave Van Horn probably hates it.
Yeah.
You know,
so Notre Dame could get Michigan. Ooh, that's ugly. That would be an ugly 2 seed.
That would be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, that would be. Oh man,
we could send LSU. We could send LSU to South Bend as a 3. Little Paul Maneri reunion tour.
I like that.
That'd be
interesting. Yeah.
What I think they're definitely going to do is with Notre Dame, their name brand. But what I'm trying to say is with Notre Dame kind of being new on the baseball scene, they're going to put somebody in there that A will put butts in the seats, and also B, like if Notre Dame's on television playing Team X, people are going to go, oh, I want to watch this.
But right now, every SEC team is a host, right? With maybe one exception. We're probably, is it 6 or 7 SEC hosts? Oh, LSU. That's right. LSU or Georgia.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That would make a lot of sense. And, you know, the other idea here, too, is like, hey, if La Tech goes on a run in the CUSA tournament, and let's say they just kind of squeak in a 16 seed, like, can you imagine the atmosphere in Ruston if LSU and La Tech are playing on a Saturday night?
Yeah, they'd be better off doing that and just doubling down on Ruston than trying to kind of like artificially inseminate South Bend, honestly. Like, I mean, and obviously I'm a South Bend homer, but like it's, you know, like it's partially a lost cause.
Hey, all I got to say is if you haven't been vaccinated and you haven't had COVID and you want COVID immunity, go to Ruston. If LSU and La Tech play on a Saturday night, you'll get
it. No, Kendall, you don't understand that barbecue smoke is the hidden vaccine.
Is the antidote?
Yeah, that's right. It's Moderna, Pfizer, J&J, and barbecue smoke.
Mix it up in a little cup.
That's right. You're all good. Oh man. Hey, so there's 24 conference tournaments. So the ones that people have to be aware of. So you said the ASUN. What about VCU? Is VCU in if they don't win the Atlantic 10?
Where are they at right now? They're sitting at 33. That's a touchy one.
So
I would put them in. I think VCU. I think VCU is one of those teams that will pass the eyeball test, but boy, they do have some losses against some of the better teams they played early on.
Yeah, man,
it's a tough one. You never really know what to expect those A-10 kind of teams.
Yeah. So okay, I'm going random questions, jumping all over the place.
Oh, here's a good one. By the way, just because I thought about the Big South. You know, Campbell right now is sitting at 38. They won that league. You have Upstate sitting at 43. You know, that could get interesting. I think that's a 2-bid league right now.
Interesting.
Potentially.
So, Kendall, if you're the commissioner of college baseball, is everybody getting a conference tournament, or what's your take on that?
Do I like conference tournaments?
Yeah, like for me, it drives me crazy that the West Coast teams don't have them.
I love them, and I'll say
look at ESPN McGee.
Well, I'll say this, and he would get on here and argue in his favor. I think they're playing right now, but you know, I've had this argument with Rick Vanderhook for years about the conference tournament, because here's the thing that I always make the argument is the committee so I'm going to throw somebody in the committee under the bus here, but the committee doesn't have the time with their normal day job to sit here and follow all these teams all year long, right? Like a lot of times they're getting this little note sheet And that's all they see about these teams. It's not their fault. They just don't have time to sit down like us and watch ESPN all day long on a weekend and watch teams. So what happens the week before Selection Monday is when they watch all these teams. And so whether it's the SEC tournament, the ACC tournament, the Big 12 tournament, that is a lot of the time is their only chance to see teams. So what happens if the Big West and the Pac-12 aren't playing tournament games? Well, chances are probably pretty good they're not tuning into those games. So I think from a notoriety and standpoint and just getting on the air, just getting on television, I think it'd be beneficial. And I also think back to Arizona, and I'm trying to think I think it was 19.
Yeah, 2019 when they were like
they were
2
back
and 4.
like the first half of the season.
Yeah.
They played. I mean, they were playing as well as anybody. I think they won like 12 straight, and they didn't get in. And had they had a conference tournament, I mean, they probably would have gone through that tournament and played really well, and potentially got into the NCAA tournament. So I think anytime you can play extra games, it for the most part, it can only help you.
Yeah. It is interesting though. Only 24 conference tournaments. So you need, if you're a bubble team right now, besides taking care of your own business, you need Fairfield to win the MAC. You need East Carolina to win the American. Boy, the American. Does Tulane have to win that thing or just go deep?
I think they've got to win it.
Yeah, it feels that way, doesn't it?
Well, the other problem that Tulane has, too, is if you look at Tulane's resume. So pulling up Tulane here. If you look at the resume, we talked about this on the regular podcast last week. They lost a series to Louisiana. They lost a series to Mississippi State. They lost a series to La Tech. And they lost a series to GCU. So the problem you run into, so if you have some warts in your resume, whether it be RPI or conference record, which the conference record's fine, but the problem is in a league like that that's not deep in terms of quote unquote good teams, like you've got to have something else to show for it. And the problem is their non-conference resume is horrible. So had they won, let's say, half the series, I probably feel okay about them right now. But instead, I mean, it's just hard to find anything on that resume.
Yep. By the way, Kendall, you know what's the best thing that's happened all day? The fact that, and I hope that you did this, but somebody did it, that this IG Live was announced as an emergency IG Live. Did you do that? Because that's good. That's good wordsmithing. Yes, I like that. I like that. Urgent. You know what? You know what's another one? Conference USA. Are they doing a traditional tournament? I don't even know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But that's another one that gets a little dicey, right? Like if one of those 4 teams don't win that dang thing, and you know FAU sneaks in there, or somebody like that. Oof.
Yeah, I mean that's FAU would be the team to keep it on. They've John McCormick has had those guys playing much better down the stretch.
Hey, Missouri Valley, right? What if Indiana State or DBU don't win the Valley? That's
yeah.
Oh no, DBU's RPI is bad though, right?
Yeah, and Indiana State has actually gone down a little bit over the last couple of weeks. I want to say DBU is sitting at that's never good. I'm still scrolling. They are
You're good. Indiana State, I think I got at 36.
Yeah, I mean that's within range at least. I can't even find DBU. Hold on.
Hey, by the way, in Hoover, Kendall, in Hoover, the first 2 days are 4 a day, right?
Yes.
Gosh,
the last game starts at 9:00 on Tuesday.
9:00 at night.
Yes.
But it never starts at 9:00, right? Like it. No, it's awesome.
KP will be the happiest man on the earth to actually be at a live baseball game on Monday or Tuesday.
That's right. Yeah, that is the part that, as much of a grind as these tournaments are, it would be so amazing to be at an actual ballpark.
Yes, not only that, but you could have. I'd have to see the schedule, but you'd have to see some of those games that might actually have a full ballpark. I mean, how cool was it? To see Arkansas last night with like a packed. I mean, it was like midnight. That place was packed. It's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, and they did the fireworks after. Hey, what's your Kendall? What's your Selection Monday routine? Like, do you have to get in your office and kind of get Martha charged up? Is Selection Monday like where Martha's going crazy, or it's actually this Monday that Martha's going to start blowing up?
It's pretty much this Monday, because what will happen this Monday is the coaching carousel will start to spin out of control. And so it kind of starts this Monday, and the Selection Monday. It's typically coaches who want me to tell them whether or not I've heard they're getting in or not. And by the way, if you're watching this, I'm not telling you. So
Yeah, and it's like not like you're in the committee room.
no,
Obviously
come
you're
on, guys.
connected, but yeah, that's interesting. Kendall, you worried about TCU at all? Did you see Johnny Ray's line today?
I did. That's problematic.
I was almost surprised that they went back to that they tried starting him again.
I was too, especially after the ULM series, and Schloss was very much off the Johnny Ray boat, at least as a starter. I mean, he certainly believes in him in a certain role,
Hmm.
but he was kind of off the boat with him as a starter. They started him again today, and he struggles, and that's problematic for TCU moving forward. I mean, I really like the job that Bill Mosiello has done with that offense, but I mean, if you look at TCU's pitching staff, I mean, outside of Chuck King today, I mean, there's there are some warts there from a pitching standpoint.
Yeah, it's like I really believe in TCU's team, but it's just hard to get. It's hard not to be gun shy on a team that struggles down the stretch like that. So, hey, that's a good question. What is Fairfield? Are they a 2 or a 3? They got to be a 3. Yeah, I don't know. What do you do at Fairfield?
Yeah, I think they'll be well. I mean, hell,
It's the number 2
they're two
RBI,
overall.
right?
I mean, maybe they. You know what? They could be who goes to Arkansas as the 2 seed.
Oh
You
my
know,
gosh. Do you know what?
Could you
That would be
imagine if
so
they pulled a
awesome for
Stony
those
Brook and knocked
Fairfield kids,
Arkansas
though.
out?
Oh God! But you know what? Like that would be. Do you remember who was the team that was in Arkansas last time? It wasn't Quinnipiac. It was
Central
TT
Connecticut.
Bowens, Central Connecticut. Yeah, and
Yeah,
those kids seem to have an amazing experience.
yeah. Could you imagine if we had Fairfield knock off the Hogs? Bob Moore would. Professor Moore would never let that happen, but it'd be
Yeah,
interesting.
would never let that
How about
happen.
Bob Moore last night with that bomb? It's
Crazy.
like clockwork.
Yep. You know what? And Charlie Welch, I'll never forget Cooper Fouts, who's at Purdue now when he was at Pepperdine. I remember when Charlie Welch was a freshman at Pepperdine, he said just talking to him on my WCC preview, he just said, "Hey,
Yeah.
Charlie Welch has got a chance," and really cool to see him carving out a cool role for himself there.
Yeah.
Hey, Kendall, what about Conference USA of the 4 teams in the mix? Who do you have the most confidence in right now?
My answer to that a couple weeks ago would have been La Tech, but I'll tell you what, the one thing I like about Southern Miss, and I feel like in the postseason you've got to have good pitching. The one thing I like about Southern Miss, and I certainly have some question marks about the offense outside of Charlie Fisher, Reed Trimble. Reed Trimble, by the way, when you watch the postseason, keep an eye on that guy. He's an exciting young player, really, really nice player. Gabe Montenegro is starting to play a lot better. But what I like about Southern Miss is the pitching. When you look at Hunter Stanley, Walker Powell, Ben Etheridge, Ryan Oakes on the back end of the bullpen, like those are really, really nice pieces, and that's what you got to have to win a regional. Like you've got to have those kind of arms, and they've got not only experience, but they're actually high quality arms as well.
Do you like? So here's a either or question. Do you like Charlotte's chances to win a regional more than our good friend Tom Schofield's chances to win the Hoover Open with him, Berkey, Coach Neal, and KP
Charlotte,
playing golf? You like the
Charlotte by
Niners?
far, because Berkey will get him out of his zone by just talking to him nonstop.
Yeah. Berkey and Coach Neal have this real controversy where Coach Neal wants to play by the USGA worldly adopted rules, and
Yeah.
Berkey does not want to. Berkey does not believe in the World Golf Handicap System. So there you have
I
it.
haven't seen Sco in a couple of years because of the pandemic. I'm kind of hoping he has a nice little mullet flow.
Yeah, he has a new shepherd. He's got that. Sco, are you going to Hoover? What's your? Are you doing it? Are you doing the V box from home?
Well, I
We'll
hope
see
if
if
he's doing the Hoover Invitational, he's actually there.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. He has to be there. That's right. If he's playing golf, he's got to be there. No
Now that
question.
would be hilarious if you drove all the way to Hoover just to play in the Hoover Open and then drove back to Charlotte.
Oh, that is great. That is beautiful. Yeah, the Conference USA. I'll tell you, Kendall. This is one thing. I just had this thought today. The conferences have been so contained this year that that's another reason to look forward to regionals.
Yeah.
We just haven't seen, the cross pollination, if you will, of leagues, and we haven't seen it since Globe Life, kind of, and that was so long ago, and that obviously was not a good weekend for the Big 12, but who knows what that looks like now.
Yeah, it's gonna be mighty interesting. Conference USA, you had you only play teams in your division. So, I mean, they're going to the tournament. They haven't seen. There'll be teams in their own league they haven't seen at all this year.
Yep. Oh man, it's going to be fascinating. The the ACC. You know what's funny? I can't decide if I keep going back and forth on the ACC's format. I get it, but like in a year like this where they have teams that are desperate for,
Yes.
well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. I would say this for some of these ACC teams, if they go there and they were to go 0-1, they would be completely donezo. So maybe two games and slide into the semifinals gives you more of a chance. But
well, the good news is this year, unlike most years, if you have those pool play games, sometimes the final game of that pool play means nothing. I think they're all going to mean something this year.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I will say this for the ACC tournament: when you get to Saturday and they go to that single elimination semifinal, it's a really cool vibe. It reminds me of like a high school state basketball tournament. Like there's definitely the energy in the stadium. When you get from Friday to Saturday, the energy in the stadium really starts to ramp up. But man, it's going to be fascinating.
By the way, somebody asked about ECU. That's a good question. ECU. We kind of had this discussion. Etheridge, Aaron, and myself kind of had this discussion the other day. It's like, hey, are we not putting enough stock into like ECU as a potential top 8 seed? And before the weekend, I would have said potentially, but after splitting that series with Cincinnati, that's now 3 series splits. I think right now they're gonna have a tough time getting to top 8. Like I don't really see the pathway unless the committee's willing to boot someone out who I think deserves it.
Yep. Man, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, the other thing that's been gone for 2 years, and it's like, okay, the power of being a conference tournament champion. It just feels like when teams go on great runs in conference tournaments, it has momentum, it has noise. The committee is, to your point earlier, Kendall, all year they're not locked in because they have real lives and real jobs, but they are locked in this week. And so if you're a team that goes on a run in a conference tournament, you're getting a lot of eyeballs. You're getting important eyeballs for sure.
There's no doubt. By the way, I do agree with the viewer who said it's hard to win a 4-game series. It is really hard.
Yep. I honestly hope that we never see 4-game series again. I would like those to go away and stay away.
It's just really hard to beat a team 3 times on a weekend. But I'll say this, I do wonder, like, will these teams that played 4-game series, are they going to be a little bit better prepared for regional when they're used to playing a 4th game already?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's going to be fascinating for sure. So, gotta love it. What else, Kendall, before we sign off? What else should we cover?
I'm just following the Pac-12 right now. Arizona down 3-1 in the 8th to Oregon State. Arizona has you guys on 2nd and 3rd. I want to say Arizona State has a game.
A game on UCLA and Cal, I think.
Yeah, Arizona has a game lead in Oregon, so they'd be a game and a half up on Oregon if they can win tonight.
Because Oregon and Stanford split. That's yeah. Wow, Stanford's only 14-9. Did they lose the series?
They did. They lost the series to, was it Cal last weekend?
That's right. They lost that series to Cal. So
that was
ASU's 15-11.
Oh, I'm sorry. They split the 4-game series. They lost their only series loss was ASU.
But I mean, like, it just feels like Stanford is a weekend behind everybody. Did they just lose a series period to COVID? Because they're at 23 games and Arizona State's at 26 games.
Yeah, they had to. There's a COVID series somewhere there.
Yeah, Washington. They lost their series with Washington. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Yep. How about that? Washington 4-19 in the pack. I never saw that coming.
Yeah, that's a team you kind of liked in the preseason for good reason. Like, they had some nice pieces.
Crazy. Tyson Guerrero, I thought, was going to be a difference maker for them. Man, they are dead, stinking last in the pack.
UCLA, I mean, who the hell knows what to expect from UCLA on a given weekend?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know if you saw it, but Cal Baptist and Grand Canyon split their 4-game series, so they're co-champions.
Really?
Yeah. Now, it doesn't matter because Cal Baptist can't play in the tournament, but but good for Cal Baptist. I love Gary Adcock, and they've got a good program. They've
done a great job.
They did. Yep. I was thinking this today, Kendall. If I'm Jim Schlossnagle, your so the Big 12 announced Texas and TCU as co-champions. Mm-hmm. But Texas won the series. So, like, if you're Jim Schlossnagle, do you put Big 12 champs on the wall? Or do you feel like, oh, man, we lost the head-to-head? Yeah, you definitely do it.
If you're Jim Schlossnagle, it still counts as a bonus on your contract.
That's right. Good point. Hey, and it's not like it's his idea. The Big 12 is who announced it, right? Like it's crazy.
Yeah, Tennessee, Tennessee today won their first SEC East Division title since 1997, I think it was.
It's pretty cool.
That's even before Chris Burke was there.
Yep.
Those are like ancient times right before Berkey.
So, Kendall, I got to go take the dogs out. So let's lay out the schedule for this week. So we will pod on Sunday, and we'll post that early in the week. What is the Nerdcast schedule for the week?
I think we're supposed to do it Sunday as well.
Oh, wow.
So we got a full night of podcasting.
Yeah. And then will there be any Nerdcast during the week from conference tournaments or no?
I don't know about Nerdcast, but we're definitely, by the way, this is something new this year. We typically just did a stock report each day. I think we're going to do an actual field every morning. Because the thing about it, Runes, is like when you do a field every morning, like not much changes, right?
Just touch-ups.
Right now, like there's one top 8 seed kind of up for grabs. We know who the 20 teams are for hosts. So, I mean, you're really only changing a team or two here and there. So, we're going to do a new field every morning. So
should we do a couple? We should do a live or two this week. What do you think about that? Maybe from.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what kind of signal you guys have in those press boxes or whatever, but.
Maybe we can do a hashtag emergency IG live.
I like it. Kendall, okay, so final question. So as we head into conference tournament week, do you take tomorrow and try to really formulate your first 5 out of the teams that you hate, or do you like to let that organically happen throughout the course of the conference tournament?
It's got to be organic, right? I mean, I kind of go week to week.
You can't force hatred.
Steve Robertson, I mean, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but Steve Robertson is tempting me to add Mississippi State to the hate list.
No way.
He's currently ragging on the state of Texas. So Steve Robertson and I might have a chat at Hoover Met this week.
You're torn there though because you're such a Lando Sims fan. Like you're through the moon for
That's
Lando
true.
Team Lando.
I don't know who I'd rather dance with, Landon Sims or Kevin Kopps.
Those are 2 bad options. That's both of those guys put other teams night. So
what's awesome about those two is they're just totally different pitchers. Like Kopps is just going to slaughter you to death and cutter you to death, and Landon's just going to throw 95, riding fastball up in the zone at you. Yeah.
Hey, by the way, Kay, I think you saw this before I did, but have you seen Rob Freeman's Doug Nikhazy? So you remember the song? The one character in the movie The Hangover is Doug, right? And so the guy, Dr. Price, the dentist, is playing the piano, and he says, "Dougie, Doug." So anyway, I have it on my Twitter feed. So Rob Freeman did that song that he played from The Hangover to a 15-second clip of Doug Nikhazy. It's amazing. You will die laughing.
I'll have to look at that. I can't believe I actually missed something that Rob put out.
Yeah, it's on my. I retweeted it. And it's gotten a lot of looks, so it's on my timeline too. So
I'll have to take a look at that. Hey,
yes.
On one last note before we let you go, because your dog's going to get really mad or they're going to pee in the house.
And then my wife will get very mad.
SEC fans, can we just calm down about Notre Dame? Like apparently, I have no idea what's caused this, but my whole feed right now is, the guy just said Notre Dame would get skull dragged week in week out in the SEC. Like, what is that based off of? Like,
skull dragged.
You haven't seen them play anybody.
Skull dragged is a great term. Skull dragged.
They lost one ACC series. I mean, here's the deal, people. Like Notre Dame took care of business against the teams that were on its schedule. Mm-hmm. So, it's not their fault that they weren't able to play non-conference games on the weekend. So let's see what they do. Let's see what they do in a postseason. I'll tell you this much: I may not pick them to get to Omaha, but dude, it'd be hard for me to bet against them in a regional for sure.
Yeah. Hey, and by the way, Tanner Colehep is an SEC arm. They just ran out of space for him at Tennessee. And John Michael Bertrand could have gone anywhere. Really. I mean, that dude's dealing.
I love the SEC, but there is baseball outside of the Southeast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not all 8 teams in Omaha every year aren't from the SEC, but it is the best league. We know.
All right. Go take your dogs out. We'll reconvene for an emergency IG live in a couple of days.
KR, tell your tech team we said we appreciate it, even though
you got it, brother.
An unpaid position.
You got it.
See you, man. Have a good night.